Had a chance to sit down and watch it, and I've got to say it is an absolutely fantastic film. So congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's raw and in some places intense to watch. So it's wonderful to have you say that. To be honest, because thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that a lot.
So for our listeners out there who haven't had a chance to watch the film yet, tell us a little bit about the film.
Yeah. So I guess it's divided up into four parts where the first and fourth story connect and thematically all four segments connect. But I would describe it as a film investigating, to be honest, three cisgender white women's fears of self-identity
Yep.
because they don't quite fit in with the norm, whatever the norm is. And I think these women, I would describe them as being surrounded by naysayers who believe that they've got each sort of quirks that are somewhat of a phase that eventually they'll just get over and get on with. And I think as a result, these women suppress who they truly are and omit who they really want to reveal about themselves, probably because of some sort of fear, because of the communities that they come from. And so I think the film is really exploring what happens when someone omits to really show them their full selves to their loved ones, and whether it's justified or not, or scary to share that side or not. And then the other question that I think we were really trying to ask in this movie was, how do relationships crumble when communication breaks down?
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Julia, your character, and what she's going through.
Yeah, so I think on some levels, my name's Clara, and I play Julia, and I think on some levels she probably comes across as a bit extra, and I think she's coming across as a bit much because she's in a desperate attempt to deflect the pain of not fitting in. So what's going on with her is that she is a woman in sort of the mid to emerging stage of her career as a sculpture artist, and she lands in New York City from Melbourne and starts to get recognition and falls for a man who's quite a bit older than her, and he has accepted her the way that she is, but not quite. And so she goes back to Melbourne to visit her parents for her dad's big birthday, and once she's back in Melbourne, she reconnects with one of her best friends, and the side of her that is more fluid, that is more wanting to ebb and flow and follow intuition rather than rules or be dictated by society's conventions, starts to really be in a fight with what she's promised this man back in New York. So she's grappling with, what does it really mean to be in a, I don't know, really want to use the word normal, but in a conservative or a conventional monogamous union, and what it means to be really allowing herself to follow her heart and her body's desires.
Yeah.
When she's been with her community, that she does practice that sort of love, I guess.
Yeah.
Is how she would see it.
Yeah. You've done that big move from Australia to New York as well. How much of your own experience were you able to put into playing Julia?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very intimate question, David. I'm glad you asked. So I think there's a lot about Julia that is similar to me, and there's a lot that's different. I think that Clara probably communicates about her needs a bit better than Julia. I think Julia deflects a lot. In terms of that big move, though, I feel her. It's scary, and that fear of coming to the Big Apple and a city that's so busy and bustling, and you never quite know who's on your court, who's on your side, who's not, makes it scary. And I think as a result, I definitely had a couple of years of really hiding my true self in a variety of spaces, desperately trying to find my community and survive the hustle that is definitely there's benefits to that hustle in the American way, but there's also a lot of fear to it as well. So I understand Julia's desire to deflect and want to hide behind something other.
Yeah.
And also deep desire to want to fight against convention and say, well, why can't I be the way I am, and you love me for this? Why can't I be with someone older and you love me for that? Why does it have to be so heavy judgment and such fear indoctrination around that?
I love it when someone takes that big step to go to the next step for their career. For you, what made you decide to make that big move? And then what was it like actually being there and having to start the audition process and everything in New York?
Yeah, so I was really lucky. So I had finished my amazing medical science and law degree at Monash University. Thank you very much, Australian tertiary education system, for government subsidy and great education. And I'm proud to say that I've used that in doing good things for artists in various benevolent pro bono spaces. Anyway, so I just finished doing that, and I was humbled to be invited in September of 2013 to come to New York City and work with a physical theatre company called City, SITI, and they sort of specialize in Japanese physical theatre called Suzuki Method and physical dance called Viewpoints. So I came with this incredible invitation to train with them in their inaugural conservatory for 9 months, which was just amazing. So when I first came by to the city, I didn't really know anyone in America. I'd never been to the States. I certainly hadn't been to New York City. So I was very green-eyed and I had a lot to learn. I'm still learning. But I've been here now, 2013 to 2020, so about 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but when I first came, it was amazing. It was exhilarating. I was bright-eyed, and I was here to train with a theatre company that I absolutely adore their work and their aesthetic. So I was quite lucky in that respect. But then I do a lot of movie work, and I've done a lot of voiceover work prior to doing theatre work, so I wanted to continue that, and therefore I then embarked on a journey of sort of navigating the New York City landscape. I mean, it's so different. Like, agents and managers have different rules here to the managers and agent rules in Australia. The union houses operate differently, so there was a lot to learn, but I've been incredibly lucky. I've been incredibly well supported from my community, in both my acting community back in Australia and also the community that I found here.
Yeah, also getting used to the hustle and bustle. What was that like when you first landed in New York and started to look around? What was that moment like?
Yeah, I mean, it was intense. I decided to land on the 7th of September, if I'm remembering correctly, 2013. Popped my suitcases at the residency that I was staying at, which was a convent on the Upper East Side, which safe house for women, I guess, a safe sort of residency for women. And I then jumped in a cab, I think, and went to a Shakespeare recital reading where I met up with two dear Australian artist friends of mine who were going to be there. So I got to work the second I planted my butt in New York City, and I was like, you know what, let's go to a Shakespeare night. So busy. I didn't really stop. But to answer your question about the hustle and the bustle, it was scary. I mean, if I'm being honest, at times I had some very intense experiences, cultural clash, communication differences I want to describe, and then something that's probably easier for the listeners to hear that was intense but not traumatic was I dislocated my left leg because I had been dancing all day and working out all day and acting all day, and then I didn't warm down in the evening, and it was snowing, so my body was going from hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And then I went to a party that night. Gosh, it must have been 10 o'clock at night by that stage after we'd been working all evening. And my leg just gave way, I think, because it was just, it just didn't know how to handle the New York icy snow and the intense physical dancing that we were doing all day. So, yeah, there was, and because I didn't know anyone, I was like, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to figure this out. And then days later I went to the doctors, they're like, your leg needs to not be used for a good chunk of time. I'm like,
Yeah. So, bringing it back to the film, tell us a little bit about what your initial reaction was when you read the script, and how did you become involved with this film?
Yeah, so Sarah and Yvonne and I have worked together on many movies. Sarah and Ivan are the other producers of this piece. And when I moved to New York City, we kind of wanted to keep working together. So we did a short movie called Xena. Whilst I was in New York City, I came back to Melbourne to do some work. I was the adjudicator at the Mildura Speech and Drama Festival, which was a wonderful honour, and so at the same time we shot this movie Xena. And then years progressed and we wanted to keep doing something a bit more substantial, so we started together to write this feature film, the In Corpore movie, and it's mumblecore style. So the way that it worked was Yvonne and Sarah gave the actors setups and scenarios, And then we, as actors, were asked to improvise around those scenarios. We had certain beats that we had to obtain, and we did rehearse, but it wasn't a formal script per se. And part of that was because of the genre mumblecore that Evan and Sarah were really interested in exploring more, and partly because this movie is deeply researched based on papers, blog spots, interviews, but also anecdotal experiences that a lot of our cast members had experienced. And so we wanted to provide space for people to navigate elements of their journey in that.
So tell us a little bit about mumblecore, because it's something that I have fallen in love with. I've seen so many movies over the past few years that I have loved in this genre, but for the audience out there, tell us a little bit about mumblecore, and does that put more pressure on you as an actress being in a film where you've got to improv so much?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've only done one, and I've only done one with Evan and Sarah being the leads of it, and I really came to be introduced to it from them, so I speak from that experience. I'm by no means an expert. There are some amazing mumblecore movies out there. Some favourite ones of mine are with Greta Gerwig, and I think for audiences, I mean, I guess I took the word literally. The actors are mumbling through their experiences and emotions and what they're navigating through the scene, and that's the core of the movie. So literally you're experiencing actors in the state of being present with what they're navigating without any formal script to guide them. So that's how I would describe it. I might be wrong, but that was my experience with it. In terms of the pressure, yeah, it's so funny. I mean, being an artist, an actor, you're already in this sort of state of vulnerability where you have to be in order to connect to the character and find out what about this character is you, what about you as in the character, where are you different, where you need to navigate in and out. And so a script, a formal script, helps give you structure to that, I think, and make probably more intimate choices quicker, because the script is telling you what the writer wants the character to go through, and you as the artist, the actor, need to figure that out. I think with the mumblecore experience I had was the same ingredients are required, but you're coming to them in a slightly different order. And so if I really look back, I mean, we filmed this 4 years ago now. It's over 4 different countries, and post-production always takes a while. But if I take my mind back to when we filmed it, there was a deeper trust, I think, on some level, between me and colleagues, because you have to have that if you're going to improvise together. And so that was delicious to have that as a starting point. But then also it was a little scarier than having memorized lines where you know exactly where you're going to go. So I think the ingredients of fear and vulnerability and intimacy and being present are there for both versions of it, but they come at you in a different way.
Definitely. Well, it has worked remarkably well. So I guess to finish off, Clara, is there anything you would like to say to our listeners out there before they get a chance to sit down and watch this film?
Yeah, thank you. What a lovely invitation. I would first of all like to say, please enjoy, and if I can bring my bias into the movie, see where your intuition guides you as you're watching it, rather than your judgmental mind.
Definitely. Well, Clara, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. This is an absolutely fantastic film that I can't recommend highly enough. So thank you for chatting to us about it. Stay safe. Happy holidays, and hopefully we get to talk to you in the future for another project.
Thank you so much, Dave. You too.
Not a problem. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.